Someone made this mat by weaving pieces of yarn together. It could be a placemat or it could be a rug. It's hard to tell how big it is from this picture. You can find woven placemats and even woven rugs in stores. A closer look will give you a better idea of how this is done. This picture lets you see how they wove the string together. The brown string that hangs straight down is called the warp, and the red string that goes under and over the brown is called the weft. We can make a nice placemat by weaving paper together. And as soon as you choose your colors, we're going to get started. Okay, you'll start out with 2 smaller pieces of paper and 1 bigger one. Take one of the small ones and fold it in half the long way, the vertical way, and crease it really good. Then fold it in half again, the vertical way, and crease it really good. And then fold it in half again, one more time, and crease it really good. Okay, that might be a little bit harder to do. Okay, now when you open it, you're going to see all these creases, and those are going to help you know where to cut to make your strips. Do this with the second one too. Fold it in half the long way, and half again, the long way, and in half again. Alright, you're going to be using both of these colors for your weaving. And what you need to do first is to cut yourself 2 strips, and the creases that you made are going to help you get the strips about the same width. And if you cut them as you go along, then you don't have to worry about losing any. So it's a good idea just to leave it until you're ready to use it, then cut it. So I've got 2 of them here. Alright, now I'm going to put some dots of glue right along one of the short edges of my paper. And see how far apart I'm putting them? You don't have to overdo it. And I'm going to line this one up with the edge, and I'm going to glue it right on the end. Okay, I find that it's easier if I hold my paper so that the fold is pointing up. I can see the line of it better. And it's good to take your time so that you can get it as straight as you can. Mine aren't going to be perfectly straight either. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to glue it on the other end. Okay, just watch how much glue you use. And then glue it right on there. Like that. Okay. Okay, now turn your paper over and fold it in half so that those strips are on the outside. It'd be the short way. And trace it. And then take your scissors and you're going to start from the fold and you're going to cut down until you get to that strip, and then you're going to stop. And you can make the lines curved somewhat if you want to. Try to keep them about the same distance apart, the cuts, because you don't want to end up with one of them like really thin. So if you make them about as far apart as I am, it'll work pretty well. That's almost the same width as what your strips are that you're cutting. So you start at the fold and then you cut down until you get to the strip. Start at the fold and cut until you get to the strip. You don't have to make these cuts really close together. You can see the distance I have between mine, and I think that's a good distance for it. Cut these off one at a time. When you're finished, you can unfold it. Now this is what's called the warp. This is what would be on a loom, what you weave the other pieces into. And these strips that we're going to be weaving, this is called the weft in weaving terms. Okay, now take one of your strips. Well, cut it first, then take it. And I'm going to go under the first of these strips that I made, over the second, under the first, and over the second, and under. You can see how I'm pulling it under one of them and pulling it over the next one so that you have about the same size of pink strip that shows through. like that. Okay, so if you made your cuts on your big piece of paper kind of even, then those should be kind of even too. Okay, I'm going to make a pattern. I'm going to start with pink like I did, and now I'm going to go back to the aqua and cut myself another strip. Alright, now since this one is started with the one underneath the yellow, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go over the yellow and then under the yellow wherever the pink is. Okay, so over the yellow and then under the yellow wherever the pink is. So I'm not going to have any of the pink and the aqua just side by side. They're going to be diagonal, and that's going to be one way you can tell if you did the weaving pattern the right way. Okay, and I just make sure I'm push it up against the other one, and then I'm going to go back to my pattern again. I'm going to cut a pink one. Now you could do things like 2 pinks and 2 blues, or whatever colors you choose if you wanted to, or 2 of one and 1 of the other. But I'm just doing a straight 1-2 pattern. Okay, now this one, since the blue one is over the first strip, then I'm going to have to take the pink one and slide it under the first strip, like that, see? So it's going to be on the same strips as the pink one, but diagonal from the blue. Okay, and I just have to carefully lift up the paper so that I don't tear it when I'm weaving the strip through it. Okay, like that. You can see my pattern as I've woven most of my mat, and I think I've only really have room for 1 more strip, and this is going to be a pink one. And how do I start? I'm going to go under because the blue one was over, and just keep up my pattern. But the more I weave, the tighter the warp gets, and so that's where I have to be the most careful so that I don't tear it. Okay, it's going to be easy to secure these by just lifting up the end and putting 1 dot of glue underneath and then pressing it down. So I lift up each end, put 1 dot of glue, press it down. Okay, I'm going to take one of my leftover strips and I'm going to fold it so that I have 4 thicknesses. And then I'm going to cut some shapes out of it, and I'm going to have 4 of each shape that I cut. And I think I've got room for 3 different shapes depending on the size that I decide to cut them. And because I'm cutting through 4 thicknesses, I'll have 4 of each when I'm finished. I'm going to use these for decoration on this weaving. Now this section I've speeded up in iMovie till it's 4 times as fast as I'm really working. But all these little shapes that I cut out, I'm deciding where I want to put them. And they always show up the best if I put them on top of a contrasting color. That's why the pink is on top of the blue. Have fun with this project.